Hello everyone, in this lesson we'll be going over if-else statements. Now before we get into that topic, there's a topic that we need to talk about before it that will help us understand if-else statements and how to write them correctly. Now we need to understand Boolean expressions. Now let me show you an example of Boolean expressions and Boolean comparisons. So this is a group of Boolean operators and comparison operators. So as you would expect, this is telling us that variable x is less than variable y, and then variable x is now greater than variable y, or is x less than or equal to y, or is x greater than or equal to y. Now these are Boolean expressions, meaning that they can be either true or false. For example, let's go over here and work with something. Now let's go ahead and make variable x, so var x, equals 5. Now let's make var y equal to 6. Now, in our JavaScript programs, if we say that x is less than y, then that would come out to be true because 5 is less than 6. But if we said x is greater than y, then then JavaScript would output that this is false. So you see how that works? Boolean expressions and Boolean comparisons are essentially determining whether their statement is true or false. Now there's also another couple Boolean expressions we can use, and those are going to be equality operators. So it's basically going to check to see if the two values are equal to each other, and there's going to be two types of equality operators. So as you can see, we mark equals either by 2 equal signs or by 3 equal signs. Now these two have distinct features in between them, and there's certain times when we want to use one over the other. So let's look at the first one. X is equal, so double equals to y. Now this is only true if x and y evaluate to the same value. Now, and then look at the next one, x triple equals y, and that's true if x and y are the same type and also evaluate to the same value. So let's go over and see where situations like this would come in handy. So let's go ahead and make changes to this variable x and variable y. So right now let's make variable x the string of 5, so string 5, and let's make variable y just plain old normal 5. Alright, so these are both 5s, but one is a string of 5 and one is the actual number 5. Now let's say we created x is 2 equal signs, so double equals to y. Now what would that output? Now this would only check to see if the actual entries that we made inside these variables were the same. So since there's 5 in both here and here, this is going to come out true, right? Because they're essentially the same number or the same character that's going in there. But if we had x triple equals y, then it will check the type of data that we have inside this variable, other than just the actual number that's in there or the actual string that's in there. So as you can see, this will turn out false because the string of 5 does not equal the same thing as the number of 5. So this one, it would come out true because it only checks to see what's inside here. And then this one would turn out false because it's checking for both the actual data that's inside there and the type of data. And since this one is a string and this one is a number, this one would come out false. And as you can see, this is also the same thing over here. We have x equals 5, y equals 5, and this is basically the same thing. Now we also have not equals. So as you can see, we had x is double equal to y and x is triple equal to y. Those are equality operators. Now we can also do inequality operators. The way we do that is through an exclamation point. So for example, let's try this one. If we wanted this one to say x is not equal to y with the double equality sign, so it's only checking the data, we'd remove one of the equality signs, so equal signs, and replace that with an exclamation point. Now let's go over here and change this number to 6. Alright, so this sentence is basically saying x does not equal y in terms of the data that's inside them. So it's not checking to see what type of data they are, whether they're strings or numbers. They're just checking what's inside them. So this will come out true because the actual data 5 does not equal the actual data of 6. Now let's go ahead and do that triple equal signs, but for triple equal inequality. So let's go ahead and take out one of those equality signs and replace that with an exclamation point. Now this one will also turn out false because it's both checking for the data and it's also checking for the type of data that's inside here. So since both are false, since string is not the same thing as a number, and since 5 isn't the same thing as 6, this is going to print out false. But if we change this to 5, this one will now turn to true. Even though this one is going to print out false because 5 is equal to 5 in this scenario, and this one is saying, hey, x does not equal y, that's not right. This one will print out true because the string of 5 does not equal the same thing as the number of 5. So that's how equality operators work, and it's going to be really helpful for us when we're doing if-else statements. So let's go ahead and dive into if-else statements. So I'm pretty sure you've all heard of if-else statements. If you're talking in literature or in terms of actual English, you know that sometimes you want to structure a sentence by saying, if this and this happens, then do this, else do this. So that's exactly how we want to set it up. So in order to write an if-else statement, let me clear out of here before Komodo starts freaking out on me. So the way we write if-else statements is we write if, and then followed by a space, and we're going to write a parentheses. Now this is where we want to put our Boolean expression. We'll want to test something to see if it's either true or false. Now, if this turns out true, it's going to run the code that's in between this curly brace and this curly brace. So anything that goes in here will mean that this if statement is true. Now, after this curly brace over here, we can write an else. We can put a space, and we're going to add a curly brace and a closing curly brace, and inside here will be code that will run if this expression over here turns out to be false. For example, let's try and make some variables, and let's try and make an if-else statement. So let's have variable x equal the number 5. And let's have variable y equal number 6. Now let's make an if statement. So if x equals, so let's do a double equals. You know what, in terms of this case, since they're both numbers, let's go ahead and make a triple equals because they're both the same type, they're both numbers. So if x equals y, then I want this to alert me. So we're going to make an alert function. Hey, this is true, right? So if this turns out to be true, then it's going to alert me saying, hey, this is true. Now, if this comes out to be false, then we're going to want to put the code in here for what happens if it's false into this else statement over here. So alert, and then put a parentheses and put in quotation marks what you want to say. Hey, this is false. And that's it. So now if you run this program, it's going to see variable x equals 5, variable y equals 6. Then it will check if variable x equals y, then alert, hey, this is true. Else, alert, hey, this is false. So as you can see, variable x is 5, variable y is 6, and those two don't equal. So it's going to skip over this if statement over here, and it's not going to say, hey, this is true. This is going to be false. So it's going to automatically go to this else statement and alert us, hey, this is false. So let's go ahead and save that and run this and see what this looks like. So let's move this aside, and let's go ahead and run this. So we should be seeing the alert, hey, this is false. And as you can see, we got the alert saying, hey, this is false. So as you can see, JavaScript is working. We were able to do an if-else statement, and this is going to be really powerful for us because at moments there's going to be times when we have two data values and we want to see if they're connected or they're basically the same value and same type of data. Now if that happens, we're going to do something, and if it doesn't happen, we're going to keep doing something. So let's go ahead and keep doing something. Let's make this a little bit more advanced. So we're going to collect something from the user. So let's start off with a variable x, and we want to prompt the user of something. So let's do this prompt, and let's say how old they are. So what is your age? All right. Now we're going to get an input from the user as what their age is, right? But this is going to come out in the number string. So it's going to have a string of their age. Now, let's try a different if-else statement. So let's delete the one we have so far, and let's create another if statement. So if space, and we're going to put in parentheses what our Boolean expression or what our true or false expression is going to be. So let's make a little program that checks the person's age and see if they're legal yet to start drinking. So let's say that the legal drinking age is 21. So if x, which is the variable or the number that we're going to get, so we need to wrap this around a number. or we can change what type of equality operator we're going to use. So let's not do that number function. Let's see how this is going to work. So if x, and we're going to use the double equal symbol, because we don't care about the type right now. We're just looking for that actual data. If we didn't care about that actual data, if we did care about that actual type of data, we'd put 3 triple equals, and then we would wrap a number around this x. But let's save ourselves some time, and let's do if x data value equals 21. Well, let's change that a little bit. So we want them to be greater than or equal to 21. So let's do the greater than or equal symbol. So what we're going to do is we're going to do greater than, and then we're going to follow that by equal. So this is saying if x is greater than or equal to 21, then we want to alert them something. So let's go ahead and add an alert function. Alert, hey, you can drink. Alright, now let's add a semicolon and let's work with the else statement. So this if statement ends over here. Now after this last curly brace over here, we can add an else statement, and then followed by 2 curly braces, an opening and a closing. And if they're not greater than or equal to 21, let's alert them, you can only have a Pepsi. And there we go. So let's go ahead and run through this function and see what we've done so far. So we're going to collect some data from the user. We're going to ask them what their age is, and we're going to store it in the variable x. Now we're going to see if their age is greater than or equal to 21, we're going to alert them saying, hey, you can drink. But if they're not greater than or equal to 21, we're going to alert them, you can only have a Pepsi. So let's go ahead and save that and run our program. So let's go ahead and run that in Google Chrome. And now we get a prompt saying, what is your age? Now let's try 10 years old. If I press OK, we should see, hey, you can have a Pepsi. See, you can only have a Pepsi. Now let's go ahead and make something that's a little bit older than 21. So let's say 26. Let's press OK. And now it says, hey, you can drink. And there we go. Now we know how to do if-else statements. So it's pretty straightforward. And we can also nest if-else statements in between each other. So we can do multiple if statements. So it will just keep checking each one until it finds one that's true. And if it doesn't, then it will just end up doing another function. So let's try another one. So let's do else if. So we can do an else if. So all we'll do is it'll go through this if statement, and then if it doesn't come out true, it's going to go to this else if, and it's going to test another variable. So let's do if x is greater than, let's say, 18. So we want this x to be greater than or equal to, let's go ahead and make this equal to 18. Then we want it to alert them saying, hey, you're really close to 21, hold on. And then that's it. That's all we want our alert to say. And then we'll create another else if. So else if, let's test another one. So if it comes out to be x is less than, let's say less than, say 5, let's say if their age is less than 5, then we want to alert them saying, let's go to the playground and I'll get you a juice box. Alright, so let's go ahead and see what we've created so far. So we're going to prompt them of what their age is. If their age is over or equal to 21, we're going to alert them, hey, you can drink. If this turns out to be false, we're going to go to another else if statement and check to see if our variable is true or not. So we're going to go to this else if statement saying if x is greater than or equal to 18, then we're going to alert them, hey, you're really close to 21, hold on. Now, if this isn't true either, we're going to go to the last else if statement and check to see if they're less than 5. Now, if the user is less than 5, then we're going to alert them, let's go to the playground and I'll get you a juice box. So let's go ahead and run our function and let's run our website. So let's refresh. So what is your age? Let's say our age is 19. If we press OK, we get, hey, you're really close to 21, hold on. Now let's go ahead and refresh this and try an age of 3. So we've put 3, it's going to go all the way down to that last else if statement. It's going to print out to us, let's go to the playground, I'll get you a juice box, and that's exactly what comes around. So there you go, you've now mastered else if statements and if statements. So let's go ahead and move on to the next lesson where I'll teach you while loops and do while loops. So see you in the next one.